Welcome back to the Beast Machines episode reviews, and today it is Master of the House, episode 2, where we really start to get into the meat of the series, and we start to get a lot of revelations, and maybe a few too many, right? So, the episode starts out with everybody trying to really focus on trying to get their transformations to work. Now, that is a completely new way of transforming. It is not a simple matter of forcing your parts to switch in and out from their positions. It is more a thing of like finding it from within. It's the first time we really got to see like Zen spiritual primal in full force. Now, as he's trying to guide the other Maximals through this. For me, the transformation, because it's a completely new style, does seem to come very easily for some in the cast. Black Arachnia and Cheetor basically accomplish it on their first attempt, and it seems a little bit quick, to get those big reveals out. I think in watching this, me and my friend watching both agreed, this is something that really felt like it should have been spread out. Cheetor should have been able to make the transformation in a moment, in a dire situation later on in this episode, Black Arachnia the next episode, etc. And then it has more impact when they do it, for starters, and for the side plot here, which is the fact that Rat Trap cannot manage to transform. Now, for his character just kind of being impatient to get his robot mode back, that actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. If anyone's going to have trouble, Rat Trap does work for that role. But it does just undercut things a little bit when it comes so easy to everybody. I think if it was shown as more of a struggle and something that had to be earned, I think it would have been a little bit more effective. But that's just like one thing we have through this. So they're trying to find some kind of base, especially after the one they were just in got invaded by a driller. They need to find a new place. Cheetor and Black Arachnia, kind of makes sense that between Cheetor having a little bit of youth in him still, he's much more matured in this series, but he's still kind of headstrong and still kind of a little bit rebellious. And Black Arachnia is Black Arachnia, so the fact that they would stretch Primal's orders to go above surface, that kind of makes sense. It starts in the exploration of the planet and actually figuring out exactly what is going on here. They do find out that the planet's archives were completely deleted. So whatever happened and however Megatron managed to take over the whole planet, he intentionally made sure no one could figure out how. So, okay, point for Megatron, smart call. And it does add to the mystery of what's going on and lets us extend it out a little bit. This is also the first time we've ever heard of Cybertropolis. Transformer cities weren't really name dropped that much in the original show. We had like Iacon, but we never really got to really know Autobot cities or anything like that in G1. So Cybertropolis is just kind of dropped on us, and I assume that it is a newer city built after the Maximal upgrade. That's the assumption I'm making here, because they make it sound like a big deal city. Like, this is the capital of the planet, which would make sense for Megatron to take over. Okay? Fair play to you. So, we get our first fight scenes. We get our first, real looks at how the transformations work in this show. This is the first time we see the stock transformations that we're going to repeat animations on for the rest of the series. I said it in the last episode, this is the episode that really shows it. I'm just not a fan of how the transforming works. I know they're supposed to be metamorphosizing into their new forms rather than switching parts around to transform, but it really does just kind of feel weird. It feels cheaty by the animators because it's literally one model shrinking into the other. Primal in particular has some really funny moments where just his arms are super tiny, or his head or body is just floating there waiting for the rest of his legs to come out. It's a weird look. It's a really weird look, and it's not as satisfying as an actual transformation for me. In the fight scenes in this one, though, we're starting to actually put up a fight against Viacons now that they can transform into robot mode. We actually get to see a lot of their bio-organic weaponry. Black Arachnia has her webs, of course, but she also has shocks that she can send through the ground. Cheetor's got built-in blades and the ability to glide with them. So we're learning our abilities rather quickly. A lot of it seems to be coming instinctually for the Maximals, which is a good way of getting them a bit of a head start. So again, we're not really earning anything. We're just kind of going through it. But it's not a bad fight scene, and it does kind of emphasize what the writers were going for in this show, which is the heroes don't use guns. Dragon Ball Z projectiles and blades, certainly, but not guns. The bad guys get to use the guns. So there's a few other messages being snuck in here, too. In the situation of Transformers, I don't necessarily agree with that either, but at the same time, the whole point of this show is to put the Maximals on the back foot as much as possible. So the fact that their weaponry is so much more limited than the Viacons kind of plays into that. So we get a lot explained here. We actually reach the Citadel for the first time, and we actually get to see Megatron's main base of operation and the full reveal of what he now looks like in his gigantic blue robes and arms and football helmet. It's weird to see. Again, like someone pointed out, like he was on Cybertron for a long time, and if he wants a perfect planet that just obeys his whims, then yes, this makes sense. But it still doesn't really explain the sudden hatred of organics, because to Megatron and Cybertron as a whole, no one really knew that there were organic things on Cybertron at all. So where that came from, it's never really explained very well. We do get the explanation of like why the Viacons exist. They are mindless, they are many, they're all controlled by him. They are perfect, obedient machines. And given how his previous crew was handled and came around, I honestly think it does make sense for him to go this route. This avoids any Waspinators or Pterosaurs or Rampages or any other of those problematic elements that snuck into his command. So, okay, I get it. Wanting everyone to be mindless and obedient to you, to a fault. Okay, yes, fine. I understand that. Yeah, and then there's the other reveal in this episode, which is the fact that Megatron, despite his newfound hatred of organics, still has his dragon mode. It is heavily scarred, almost as if he's ripped the flesh off of it himself. So when you think about it, it's kind of a gory image. However, it does actually it does a few things. Well, number one, it gives us a size scale, since that technically means he's the same size as he always was. So, yeah, he's pretty big compared to everybody else. So that's one thing. But also, it shows the weakness he has, which is when his temper takes over, Megatron loses control of his command rig. He loses control of basically everything. The Viacons just go into lockdown. So getting him really riled up is kind of his weakness, because it forces him back into beast mode, which was never a thing in Beast Wars. Megatron got mad a lot, but it never forced him into T-Rex mode. So there's that as a new wrinkle that never existed before. It is a lot. It actually is a lot to take in. There's a lot going on in this episode. And we finish off with this idea suggested that somehow everything that happened to Cybertron is Optimus Primal's fault for not finishing off Megatron when he had the chance. Instead, he tried to bring it back to Cybertron, which is exactly how he took over the planet in the first place. Not that we know that yet, but it is still very clear that Primal has some form of survivor's guilt going on, because he's still around, even though in his mind he failed to stop this all from happening when he had the chance. We're going to be pushing a lot of guilt-tripped stuff on Primal. He's got a lot of mental struggles to go through in this series. This is the this is just the start of it. So when you throw all of that in, the introduction of the new robot modes, the reveal of Megatron and his weaknesses, the explanation of the Viacons, and then seeding Primal's his struggle that's gonna go throughout this series. Really, that's a lot. It's a really dense episode. It's trying to do a lot, and this is something that I've noticed going through the series again. This episode really does show how fast-paced this series was, to the point where a lot of it just kind of feels rushed through and stacked on top of each other for the sake of getting everything out as fast as possible. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. For a lot of people, a plot in a show that doesn't waste time actually does kind of... there is an appeal to that. But also, I like those filler episodes that don't really add to the overall plot, but they give you a chance to explore characters and get attached to them. That's kind of where I fail on this series a little bit. But we will get into that later on. For now, that is Master of the House. Now, all scores are relative to the series that they are in, so this one gets an enjoyable score. There is a lot of explanation in this one. A lot of extra mystery is set up. There's a lot of establishment going on. Maybe it's rushed a little bit fast, but yeah, it definitely offers a lot for as far as like what this series is going to be about. So, thank you once again for watching another episode review. As the plan goes, I will try my best to continue Beast Machines, and we will be talking more episodes tomorrow.
It's the bosun's turn. He's looking at TJ's character and he's just like, "What you gonna do?"
Right. I blew him a kiss.
I love him. I love him.
What's your problem? He's just gonna pull his can crossbow and just fire at you.
That's fair at this point.